Welcome to the Goodvertising Awards Couch Conversations. My name is Thomas Kolster, and I am the founder of Goodvertising and the jury chairman of the Goodvertising Awards. And obviously, the Goodvertising Awards is all about celebrating the greatest of what was happening in the impact space of 2020. And the three criteria we are looking at is creativity, impact, and potential. And I'm really happy today to be joined by one of the winners, the Climate Action Vodka from Kolster. And I'm really pleased to have Noora Holmberg joining me on the call, and she's senior brand manager from Altia. So welcome, Noora, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And we also have from the agency side, we have Paul Merisalu from Bob the Robot, and Paul is a creative. So welcome and congratulations, Paul.
Thank you. Great to be here.
And this is really one of the projects that I think all of us at Goodvertising really loved, because it's kind of showcasing a way forward for our industry as it is challenging and diversifying times. So Noora, probably for those of our community members who doesn't know the Climate Action Vodka, what is it?
Yes, so Koskenkorva Vodka Climate Action is actually the world's first vodka that is made entirely with regeneratively farmed barley. And regenerative farming, that's what it's all about. That is a holistic cultivation method that aims to turn fields that we have into carbon sinks by drawing CO2 from the atmosphere and then storing it back into the ground. So it fights climate change, then in addition by improving biodiversity, and then also ensures that the nutrients are not leaking back into the waterways. And then ultimately, in the end, it provides just better crops.
Which I absolutely love, the whole idea that what you drink, the methodology, the farming behind what you drink is really what you're trying to change. And I think there has been a lot of conversation about regenerative farming in other sectors as well, and I do really like the little bottle that you have there in the background. So very, very pleased to see that. I mean, this sort of change doesn't seem like something that just come from one day to another. And Paul, what does it take to kind of get a project like this off the ground? Because it does seem like a Herculean task to do this.
2 years of perspiration and tears.
and a bit of vodka too.
just a tiny bit. Yeah, it's funny because it's a little bit true. We did start this thing like 2 years ago, and this obviously goes a lot deeper. Like, advertising agencies are usually, what they do is obviously we create campaigns, right? But this is a lot more. This actually changes the way a product is made, or not even a product. It's a new thing. It's a completely new thing, and not only is it new from the things that you already have, you actually need to create a new raw material. So in order to achieve that, you need to bring in so much, because obviously an advertising agency cannot know all the science, that everything that goes into the logistics and everything. So it requires a lot of patience from all stakeholders, the client, Altia, as well as like what would we had a Baltic Sea Action Group that was like handling the science part there, and obviously from our side as well. So you really need to work together with a lot of people that don't necessarily even speak the same language. So you need to take little steps and really believe in what you're doing. because things like these, they're big changes, they require time.
It's something that we've heard again when interviewing other of the winners of the Goodvertising Awards. This is a day about collaboration. These are not projects that are being done in silos. These are projects that are being fostered in collaboration. I mean, Noora, could you maybe share a bit of insight on, you know, how do you drive a project like this? How did this project come about in the first place? And how do you make sure that you have a collaboration and redefine the collaboration with the agency and some of these other partners?
I think it's all about first finding the right team. As you said, this was all about teamwork, not just for us internally at Altia and with Bob the Robot, but we had then multiple other stakeholders here involved. And there the most important ones were the Baltic Sea Action Group, as Paul mentioned already. And then the real climate hero behind all of this, which was then Jari Eerola, the farmer, who is the real hero, who was then able to provide us this raw material. So it was a lot of discussions back and forth, plenty of meetings, and trying to find a time with all of these stakeholders together, and then move onwards, even if there were a lot of surprises on the way and timeline challenges. And everyone just needs to have, I think, a lot of passion and drive, but then also flexibility to adapt to these circumstances that come along the way.
Yeah, I love Erie. He's one of the farmers who's obviously the first, can you say, test farmer for these farming methods, and obviously the ambitions is for you to scale that up and even inspire more farmers. And he featured in the actual film that you guys have done. Paul, obviously there are tons of people from our community who are excited about knowing how to go about this. I mean, how does an idea like this come about, and how can you pitch it? How can you go to clients and say, hey, we thought about this, is this possible? Do you have any good advice?
Good advice is I think there's one thing that comes to mind specifically, is not to be afraid of inherently complicated things. Like when you really dig down to like climate change, there's like so many things in there, like you can get lost in that, right? And then one part of that solution kind of is farming, because it's huge. Like according to some sources, it's like 25% agriculture, not farming, but agriculture as a whole of all like CO2 emissions. And okay, so how do you go about that? And then okay, so there's this thing that is kind of popping up. It's called regenerative farming, and then you go deep into that, and it's like, well, okay, so this is like super complicated. Because it addresses issues like biodiversity. It fixes poor soil that's depleted, draws CO2 from the atmosphere, stores in the ground. So understand, like at that point, you do realize this is so complex but at the same, like you might even think like this is too complicated. But that's when it kind of really gets interesting. And that's where you're like, okay, well, yes, it is complicated, but I'm not afraid to go in deeper and see that, okay, so together with people who are actually experts in this area, that's where we can make the difference, and that's where we can take the most, like the core of the thing, and turn that alive. So I think that's like the one thing.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty, isn't it, of creativity, that you're taking all that complexity and you're turning it out to something that's simple and concrete, and obviously the output of that is this beautiful bottle and product that you can see just next to Noora. And Noora, one thing is obviously the long process of getting a farm on board, getting the right collaborations, and then to finally having a new product design in your hands. And obviously you've dubbed it the Climate Action Vodka, and I'm just happy that now I can do something for the climate by drinking vodka. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, and hopefully soon to my table. But can you maybe share just a bit of insight about that process, naming the product, choosing the packaging as well?
Sure. About the name, depending a bit on the market, but regenerative farming is still quite a, how do I say, new method or new terminology for a lot of consumers, especially also in our home markets. We use completely different words. So we wanted to try out a few different alternatives. We were actually testing whether we would have named it regenerative vodka or then climate action. And we run the consumer test, and the climate action won, most likely because it is very understandable, but we still wanted to have a strong link to the actual outcome of this initiative, that the aim is to improve the climate by better farming practices. And we thought that it is easier for consumers to understand. And then in the packaging, we do open up the story behind the farming methods in much more detail.
Yeah, and I think for those of you who doesn't know too much about regenerative farming, go and check out more about it, because it is truly a new and very inspiring way of farming that in a way also kind of goes back in time to how we could farm in new ways, especially as I think it's not something we think about often. In terms of getting a project, an idea to the finish line, I mean, how long a partnership is that, and how long a collaboration is that between kind of client and agency? And do you feel that, especially on the agency side, that we need to think differently, that we need to work differently? And you're obviously both welcome to answer this kind of tough question, or chip in, both of you.
Do you want to go first, Noora?
Go ahead. Yeah, I can then add our input on that.
All right. Well, we have been working together with Kolster for 5 years, so it's already a relationship.
Yeah.
Obviously, and during those years, if things have changed, the world has changed, and still, obviously, the core of Kolster is still the same. And it's still like everything stems from that same core that's in there, and it's quite possible that the way this came about too is still, there are little changes that go on. There are new ambitions that come from the client side as well. I mean, there's always been with Kolster this sustainable way of doing things ever since the beginning, and there's a lot of like history in there as well. But especially now that we have kind of like awakened to this fact that we're all facing with climate change, it's like, okay, so what we're doing, we're in there. We're a part of that agricultural sort of sector, because most of what goes into Kolster vodka it's barley, it's farmed, right? So and that's a huge part of where we can play a role and try and make things better. So why not take that? And even though we had, like, Altia has and Kolster has done like great things, they have won like Green Company of the Year awards and plenty of others. But how can we actually make something that stands out, that other companies can actually look at? That, well, you can actually make things like that in a way that's relevant to the customers as well. So I think, like, yes, short answer, I think it needs a little bit of history and working and trusting each other, the agency and the client.
Yeah, so there's a factor of the real DNA behind Koskenkorva and the history and the distillery as well. I guess have been known for kind of circular efforts, etc. Noora, your take on this?
Yes, I think it's very important to give a bit of the background on this, that as Paul already mentioned, that not only the brand Koskenkorva, but also the company behind the brand Altia, we are really taking the sustainability seriously. We are already forerunners in it, but we have also set our sustainability roadmap for the next few years to come. And we have a lot of initiatives also for the future years. For Koskenkorva, we want to be the world's most sustainable vodka. And I think this is one of the initiatives that helps us to reach that target and takes us, again, one step closer towards it.
You know, I'm just excited about seeing more exciting climate vodkas in the climate and environmental space, because obviously it is much needed. These times are challenging. Probably one of the things that I'm curious about is I just want to get my hands on the vodka. How far are we with this project at the moment?
We are very close. Maybe to wait just a few more months, depending on which market you live in. But it has been distilled, and the first products have actually been bottled. And I just got the first bottle in my hands last week. So very soon, this spring, it will be available across the different markets.
Great. I definitely can't wait. I think there were some key things here. I think we talked about collaboration. I think we talked about boiling down the complexity and not letting the complexity stand in the way. Obviously, the partnerships and really grasping the DNA of what Koskenkorva is about and thinking about that and pushing that further. But is there maybe one thing more that you could share with our community that you think have made this project come true? Because obviously, you know, a lot of creatives, a lot of marketeers are sitting and saying, you know, how can we do something similar? We want to push in a more impactful direction, but what could be some of the lessons that you could give people?
Personally, I really think it helps a lot when it's not only one initiative, but it's part of a bigger story. So you have the support of the entire company behind you when you go and start to drive these type of projects. I think that's crucial to then get the outcome what you want to achieve. And I'm, for example, very happy that this is just the start of the journey for us. This is one concrete product, but that doesn't mean that we want to stop there, but we still have great things coming ahead of us. For example, we want to now offer regenerative farming trainings for all of our contract farmers in the next 5 years. And then that way, hopefully be able to have much more supply of the regeneratively farmed barley, also for future innovations and future products.
You're off to a very good start. So congratulations on that, and definitely also showcases the real potential that Area the Farmer can now be joined by many like-minded farmers in Finland and potentially across the globe. Paul, any final inputs and tips to some of your creative colleagues out there that are envy as hell in terms of what come out from Bob the Robot?
Yeah, one thing is that ideas like these don't come every day. When you kind of know when they are, you have that inkling that, okay, this is big, then you need to keep riding that horse and try and just like know, like there's gonna be a lot of obstacles that you need to handle, but when you know that you're making a difference, that's what makes you push forward. And when you know that people around you, like everyone involved, is as excited as you are to working towards that goal, then that's the thing. So I think that's the thing.
So being bold and embracing the passion, I think this is definitely something that I think is kind of really bringing the Goodvertising community together. This belief that we can actually combine our profession, our skills, our capabilities, our passion for creativity and marketing with meaning, and this is definitely something that we believe in the community. And I want to congratulate both you, Paul, and you, Noora. This is a tremendous project, and I can't wait to sit on the sidelines and follow this, and one day, hopefully very soon, to get a sip of the vodka. So congratulations again for winning the Goodvertising Awards, and to all of you watching this, obviously go be part of that change and be bold and passionate, because this is where projects like these happen. So congratulations to all, and thank you for watching.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.